Good
Welcome.
afternoon.
We want to welcome you today again to another exciting and sizzling topic. We want to look today at the power of your seasons or identifying and understanding your seasons and dealing with the different seasons in your life. With me today are my erudite co-host, Dr. Seifel, coach, a relationships specialist and master coach. He's also an author and he is a corporate coach. He has the ability to speak to men and specializes in helping men to amplify their relationships and also to perfect their art of communicating so they can improve and enhance their relationships. We also have with us today our erudite Dr. Janice Brooks, and she's the mastermind that is a life strategist and a member of the group of John Maxwell group of coaches, leaders, and trainers. She's also a certified and licensed counselor, and she is also an author. She is available for corporate training and development. And I'm yours truly, Dr. Marcia Thomas, your Christian leadership life coach and trainer and consultant, and also an author and someone who does corporate training. Together, we are motivational speakers, we are coaches, we are strategists, and we are consultants. We, as we look at dealing with our life seasons, we want to, first of all, place some things in concept, in perspective, at your feet, at your table, so that as you understand and gradually move through this program, you will make the choices and the decisions necessary to keep you building your life and growing and developing into your best self as a purpose driven advocate and also a purpose driven career professional, a purpose driven mother, a purpose driven father, a purpose driven friend. What we are saying is that understanding and dealing with your seasons allow you to enhance your relationships, your career, and also yourself. You become more self aware, you become more resilient, and you become an overcomer. Our first question is sent out to Dr. Howell. What do we mean by seasons, life seasons?
I'm glad you asked that question. If you're listening in the Caribbean, when you think of seasons, you might think of dry season and wet season. But when you are in one of those temperate zones where we tend to have um, more seasons, then it means something totally different. Sometimes when I call home to my father, he might say to me, "Yes, we are in the dry season. It's hard to find grass for the sheep and the animals down here, and it's a rough time." And then when it's the wet season, he says, "Oh man, there's plenty grass, and it's abundance." And so that's kind of different than in America. In America and in Europe, we tend to have four seasons. We tend to have winter, we have spring, we have summer, and then we have fall. And so if you look at seasons and you look at your life and you guide your life or mirror your life to the seasons, then you look at seasons as the point you are in life. And I know we're going to get to these questions a little later on, so I'm not going to dive too deep. But seasons represent the period of life that you're in based on what you're going through, based on what you're experiencing. And there's certain things you're supposed to do in each season. And so I will leave my answer at that until we go a little further on.
Well said, Dr. Howell. Move along, Dr. Brooks. Let us hear what you say about seasons. Thank you so much for that and the comparisons you have made and how you have aligned it to the natural seasons and cycles and phases of life. So let us hear your side now, Dr. Brooks, your take on what you think seasons are.
Let me thank everyone who's watching today. And if you're alone, it's still time to invite someone to come along and to be a part of this live stream. I do believe that there will be something that you will gain from here today that you can take away and hold on to for the rest of your life. When I think about seasons, I want to first of all use the scripture that comes from Genesis 8 and verse 22. And that scripture says, as long as the earth remains, there will be seed, time, and harvest. And the verse continues, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall not cease. But I want to personalize this verse. I want to say that as long as the earth remain, there will be seed, comma, time, and then harvest. And that simply means, in its natural sense, that a season is a period of time when certain variables or event will take place in our lives. Just as we have spring, summer, autumn, and winter, we also have the spiritual seasons. And these spiritual seasons represent different stages. I pause also to say that a spiritual season can be a controlled season and it can be an uncontrolled season. And it is how we act in each season that will determine how long that season lasts or whether we can abort the season. And as we go along, we will talk more about that. But yes, I want to say, as long as the earth remains, there is time for there is seed to plant, time to allow it to grow, and then harvest. Back to you, Dr. Marcia.
Very good. So we are now all in agreement that seasons refer to the various phases or periods that we find ourselves in as individual or experiences through the different stages of our lives, whether through our career or personal development. We go through different phases, and based on what you all are saying, is that there will be dry times, there will be times of plenty, there will be flourishing, there will be a day night, and then there will be, according to Dr. Seafeld, there will be a wet and a dry season. Whatever the season is, we understand that it is about transformation and change, because emotionally life is characterized by cycles, and these cycles takes us into different stages based on what we are hearing, and these stages, how we maneuver them, is very important so that we are able to grow, develop, and transform. One thing we know is that no season lasts forever. Seasons change, and so until that time, until my change come, how do I identify the season that I am in? That's so important that we don't miss our season. How do we identify the season that I am in? How do I identify the season I am in, Dr. Brooks?
Thank you so much, Dr. Marcia. I personally believe that if we
We're
don't know,
not
if we don't
hearing
know,
you, Dr. Brooks.
I'm hearing.
You seem to be muted.
No. This is what I'm saying, Dr. Marcia. If we do not know the season that we are in, we first of all need to ask the creator of the seasons. If I don't know, if I drive a Lexus and I don't know how to care for that Lexus, if I don't know much about the Lexus, then I'm going to go to the dealer, the producer of the vehicle, to ask them to show me and to help me to understand about this particular car. And so if I'm in a season, I must first go to God and ask God to help me to understand the season that I'm in at this time, I must also pray for discernment to discern the different things that happen in that season in order to determine or to ascertain the season that I'm in. And I want to make mention of some kind of seasons that we may be in, and we might misconstrue or misunderstand our seasons and take it for something different. We can be in a season of suffering. And there is and many persons don't want to be in that season. They don't even want to hear about it. But it is also considered a seasons in this life. Back over in one of the scriptures, St. Paul says some of us were anointed to suffer. And so we can be in a season of suffering. But as Dr. Master, you said, no seasons last forever. We can also be in a season of preparation. We can be in that season where we need to prepare for the next season that is coming. We talk about seed. We need to be planting. We can be in a season of patiently waiting when we do nothing. But because sometimes we believe that the season means that you must always be doing something, there comes a season when you're patiently waiting. When I say patiently waiting, it means that you have done all you need to do. You just need to stand. You can also be, Dr. Marcia, in a season of growth. And in that season, everything is blooming, everything is growing. There is a season of rest. And this is the last season I'm going to mention, because there are other seasons. But there's a season of rest, because sometimes we believe that we must always be on the go without any rest. How can we gain clarity? How can we rejuvenate? How can we do some self-reflection unless we stay in that spirit of rest, so that we can focus, so that we can, and Dr. Ho will love to talk about manifest, so that we can manifest something. So you have to definitely know, understand, ask God to show you, ask God to help you to understand the season that you are in at a point in time, so that you can know how to operate in that season. Dr. Ho will take that for us. Pick up on that.
Yes. So the question is, how do you know what season you're in? And you can tell what season you're in predominantly by the pattern that you are experiencing at that point in time. So, for example, in winter, that's generally the season where you experience a lot of difficulty, a lot of pain, a lot of anguish, maybe a lot of crying, a lot of pleading to God, trying to figure out what is going on. That is the season that people hate the most, because that's the one that's the most difficult to deal with. That's the one that hurts us, that makes us reflect inward. It makes us identify those things in our lives that we need to change. So those seasons of difficulty we call winter, because it means that we're getting ready for something major. In the Bible, it says that weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. What is the joy? The joy that comes in the morning is the joy of overcoming, the joy of success, the joy of moving on. And so Jim Rohn talks about seasons in a lot of his trainings, for those who know Jim Rohn. But he says that as in life, some winters are longer, some winters are shorter, some winters are colder, some winters are milder. So it is in our lives. And so we should never be comparing our seasons with someone else's season, because then you start to doubt God and doubt yourself and doubt what is going on. So winter is a time of difficulty. Spring is a time of opportunity. In spring, you're supposed to be getting ready for growth. And the reason you're growing is because you've just gone through something difficult. You've learned valuable lessons. Now you're getting ready to take those lessons and move forward. So you're manifesting your purpose better. And so now you're taking that pain, you're taking that purpose, and you're helping people see the light, or you're taking that pain and that purpose and moving forward to another level of your life. Summer is a season of growth and development, is where now that you have taken that pain and taken that purpose and you've started to manifest it, like you said, I love that word. Now you're manifesting that. You are now gaining momentum, and that momentum is catapulting your growth forward. So I want to double back and say, unless you have a winter you cannot seize your opportunity. And unless you seize your opportunity, you cannot adequately grow and develop. And here's what I want to add to that. Here's the caveat. If you're not willing to endure your winter and learn from your winter so you can get to your spring, you will continually experience winters until you're willing to move forward. You're stuck on rewind until you learn the lesson you need to learn so you can move forward. So after you do that, then you get to the fall. The fall is when you reap your rewards. And the thing about life is, we look at people who are successful and we look at people who, according to our terms, they have it all, but we don't see the struggle that they went through to get there. We don't see the pain, the agony, and the nights in the middle, those middle of the night conversations they had with God, struggling, having their Jacob moment to move forward. And so we just see the glitz and the glamour, and we think that that's what it's all about. But you cannot get to your reward until you go through your winter, your spring, your summer. Then you can get your reward in the fall.
Excellent points. I see we have lost Dr. Marcia. She was having some internet challenges, but I'm sure she's going to join us back as soon as she's able to. And the following question is, how do one know when their season is about to change? How do one know when their season is about to change? And you actually answered part of that already, Dr. Howell, because we have to look at the changes around us. In everything, I always say, ask God first. Ask God first. But also, you have to have your own discernment. You have to also have sight to see when things are changing around you. Do not take anything for granted. As a matter of fact, sometimes you have to question everything. Why is this changing? What does this particular event mean for me, or the events that are happening in my life? What does this mean for me? When you pause to do some self-reflection, you will realize that this never happened for the last 8 months. That means something is changing. But that is why some persons keep going, continuing in the same season, because they are not able to see any change that is happening. So they sit in the same season. As a matter of fact, when I talked earlier that a season can be controlled, and I am using this because in the Bible, the prophet Elijah, he called a season into being by his own words. When he said, by my words, there will be no rain on this land for 3 years. And God heard him, and he put up a pause to a season of growth, and then place the land in a season of barrenness, of dryness, of drought. But he was able to pray that season back into existence after the time, because we will remember when he said to his servants, go out and look. And the servant kept coming back each time that I don't see anything. But he knew that because of his word, again, the season was about to change. He said, go and look. And the 7th time, we remember, if we know the scripture well, the 7th time the servant said, I see the hand looking something like a hand. And he said to the king Ahab, ride on, because there's a sound of abundance of rain. In other words, the season is about to change. I have spoken this new season. I have prayed this new season into being. And that is what I'm saying. Sometimes you are in a season, you literally have to pray and use your own words to change your season. If you, the Bible says, life and death reside in the power of the tongue, and you shall reap the fruits of it. If you sit down in a season and everything is going wrong, and you realize that you're continuously in this season, it's time to use your own mouth. It's time to speak to your own season. It's time to get up and do something different, because it could be that you're being delayed in this season without even your knowledge, that you are being held back and kept in a season for longer than you're supposed to be in it. So you have to have that discernment. When did this season start? What are the things that change? Is growth evidence in this season or not? What are some of the circumstances that altered this season? What caused them? What are my own thoughts? What are my own words? What are my own beliefs? Some of these questions you have to really ask yourself, because you are going to need to figure out, to discern the season that you're in. Dr. How will pick up on that for me?
Yes, I love the way you put that together, and you are well. I'm going to mirror some of what you said. A lot of our seasons are self-imposed, based on our perspective and based on our perception. Because of our mindsets, we keep ourselves wallowing in certain situations. God had prophets that were suicidal. God had prophets that were manic depressive. God had prophets that had a lot of the problems that we had today. And I believe that they kept themselves in certain cycles of seasons because of their mindsets. And we too can be the same way. And so you cannot have perpetual summers, but you can get yourself out of some of these situations a lot faster if you look to see what is the lesson to be learned, what is the activity to be done, learn it, do it, and move forward. So, for example, we already said that winter is a time of difficulty. And so when you see that you've managed all of the difficulties that are coming your way, when you see that your perspective on life has gotten better, then you know that you've learned what you need to learn. So now spring is going to be coming. Spring is going to be a time of growth and development. So when you see that you're growing and developing, you're starting to share what you have with people. Spring is a type of opportunity. So when you see that you are getting opportunities are coming based on what you just learned and based on what you just experienced. Now you know that there's going to be a chance for you to move forward, and to move forward now you're going to have opportunities to grow, develop, and share what you've learned. So once you grow, develop, and share what you've learned, you're going to go through that season for a while. Then there's going to be an opportunity for you to reap or harvest your rewards. So once you see that people are starting to come to you, and whatever you're looking for, whether it's money, friendship, husband, wife, whatever you're manifesting or whatever you wanted is now being manifested. Now you are in the season of getting your reward or reaping your reward, because the Bible says whatever you sow, you will reap. But not only will you reap it, you will reap it abundantly. And so, number one, like Dr. Janice said, you pray and ask God, hey, what am I supposed to learn? What am I supposed to do? And what season am I in? And then based on what God tells you, based on what you see, based on what you experience, you can tell, okay, I believe I've mastered this because new opportunities are coming. I'm developing new passions. I'm developing new interests. So now I know I'm about to move on to the next level or move on to the next season.
Excellent point, Dr. Howell. We haven't seen Dr. Marcia return. It seems as if she's still having her internet difficulty, but we do have another 10 minutes to go in this session, so we're going to carry on. I want to thank those who are listening to us today. We are glad that you have paused your lunch to really come into this session and listen, because our hope and aim is that we can give you the ideas, the strategies, the knowledge to really grow to a place where you can really recognize the things that are happening around you, and not just recognize them, but to be able to do something in a particular season to change that season. I'm going to pose the next question to Dr. Marcia because she's back, and we want to welcome you back, Dr. Marcia. And the next question I want to ask Dr. Marcia is, what steps can someone take to make sure that they do not miss their season? What steps can they take in one season to make sure that they do well, not to miss their season?
I'm having some internet issues. Thank you so much for picking up for me, Dr. Brooks, identifying the steps that you can take so you do not miss the rewards of the next season while you are languishing in one season. And one of those is that you must become self aware. What are you focusing on? Are you focusing on the delays and the stagnation of the season? Or are you focusing on the lessons that you are learning in patience? Are you preparing by looking at what you need to take you out of the season? Are you taking the steps that you are required to take to lift yourself from whatever you're going through? Are you looking at what you have that you can use to help you to prepare for the elevation of the next season? Are you trusting self? Are you becoming a self victim? Are you blaming persons? Are you just marking time? Or are you actually doing your self reflection and setting clear and concise goals? Are you looking at those persons who can support you and carry you out of these seasons, the destiny helpers that are being prepared, that are around you, that are giving you advice, and that are making suggestions because they are just not arbitrary suggestions, but because you had called on God, because you have waited a season, out a season, and because you are listening for His direction? Then those that He sends, you will be able to identify the moves that you must make to take you out of the season. So what am I saying? You must embrace your season first of all, and you must have that embracing means that you develop a growth mindset. Then the next thing you want to do is that you want to focus on the continuous variables in your season, the external factors. You must look at what you can't control and what you have no control over. You must look at what you can do to help yourself and what only God can do to lift you out of your season. That is some of the things that you must do. You must seek support and guidance from within yourself. You must pull and harness the strengths that are within you. You must be very realistic and practical. You must be very honest, and you must speak to yourself positively so that the lessons that you are to derive from the season can be harassingly put together, because you are harassing the facts with the negative talk that you might be telling yourself in your season. So what do I mean by harassing the facts? You are keeping the facts alive and very present and obvious in front of you, so that whatever talk is there, you have something to beat it down that is very factual, very truthful, very progressive, and something that moves you towards growth. Then you must understand also those voices that you are not to be listening to. There are many naysayers when you're in your wilderness season that feel that you might have done something to keep you there. Those seasons, those persons do not understand the divine hand and the divine play and the divine variables that are at work to help you to gather the lessons that you need to use. You need to learn to move from your season. You might need to learn a lesson in humility. And so you're in a season where you suffer loss. But this loss is not deprivation. It is clearing the path for you to see yourself and how you are to treat and appreciate those that you have around you. It might be a lesson in patience that you must learn. So things don't seem to be coming together, no matter what you do and how well prepared you are. It means that you have to be patient, and you are being taught the lesson to be wise, and also to understand that you cannot depend on self alone. God is a higher authority that you need to depend on. So you no longer take praises for yourself. When all is said and done, you'll give God His just glory and honor and praise, because you realize that you were not the one that did it. It had to be that you got divine help. Finally, you must have a spirit of gratitude and an attitude of gratitude, that you, in all things, you are thankful, and in all things you are grateful, and you are joyful in all things. That might seem to be something that is hard when you're really going through your wilderness season, when you're deprived, when you are feeling embarrassed, when you feel a lot of shame because you are no longer independent enough to do what you want to do. You feel stuck or you feel stagnated. But What if worry is a rocking chair that takes you nowhere? Reach for and prepare for your next level by having that growth mindset, by being very grateful for where you are and how you have been led and how far you have been carried, and make the necessary adjustments in your mind and in yourself to prepare for your next level.
Wow.
Because, as I said before, seasons change.
Wow. Excellent point, Dr. Marcia. There's some PowerPoints that Dr. Marcia just shared right there a while ago. And it seems that we're not going to have much to add to that. But I just want to say 2 words: pray and prepare. Pray and prepare. And I'm leaning on the spiritual side today. So stay with me here, because Paul says, that the eyes of my understanding might be enlightened, and that I may know the hope of your calling. In other words, give me this eyesight, give me this spiritual sight, so that I may see and I may know what you have called me to do. So even though I might be in an unfavorable season, let me not move without your direction, because movement without spiritual direction is a risk. If you start out without direction, not knowing where you're going, you're at a risk of anything happening to you. And so I say, pray and prepare. I remember when I wrote my first book, I was preparing for almost 15 years. Every time something happened, I would write it down, and I would document the different events that are happening in my life. Then I remember about 10 years into this, I remember telling persons, I'm going to write this book, and I'm going to be able to do this, get on a television program and account for everything. You see, when you prepare in that season, and you continue to prepare, when the time comes and the gate is opened, you are right in the season that you have prepared for. And everything I said happened just as I accounted it, 15 years coming back together. So ask God for spiritual discernment. Pray and prepare until that season changes. God will tell you when to come out of it. God will show you the things, some of it that you can do. If you have to break down a fence to get out of that season, you're going to have to break it down. If you have to sit in there and wait patiently, you do it. Spiritual sight. Pray that you get spiritual sight so you can know what to do. Because let me tell you something, and I'm going to finish right here, but Dr. Howell, I'm coming over to you. Let me tell you something. Sometimes we are so passive. We are so passive. And that is why we have different seasons. Because there's a season that you have to be active. There's a season of war, you know. The Bible said there's a time for peace and a time for war. There's a season that you literally have to fight your way through everything around you. And there's another season when you remain calm and you remain silent. So do what you need to do. Ask God for the eyes of your understanding to be enlightened, so that you will know what to do in each season. Dr. Howell.
All right.
Dr. Brooks, just before Dr. Howell, I want to emphasize that it is when you're in the season that you know the steps that you must take. You cannot take the steps before you're in the season. That is the point I just want to make. So when you're in your dry season, it's a different step that you take than when you're in your season of plenty. When you're in your season of celebration, it's a completely different step. But the consistent step in every season is that you must go in with an open mind. You must be flexible, and you must be always willing to make the changes that are needed to take you from one season to the next.
Thank you so much. Dr. Howell, add your voice to that, and then we're going to go into our final point after that.
Yeah, no problem. What I was going to say is everybody knows when they're in their winter season, because that's the most difficult time. Everybody likes to wallow and bellow and cry and scream and holler, because that's the one that we don't like. But we have to remember that when we get into right after winter, it's going to be spring. There's certain things you need to do in spring. That's opportunity time. You need to know what steps you need to make in that opportunity time. And because if you miss those, then your spring is going to be short, and then your summer is going to be short, and then your fall or your reaping is going to be, and your blessings are going to be short, and you go right back into the winter again, which is time of difficulty. And so a lot of times we live our lives in perpetual winter because our mindset is wrong. A lot of us don't feel good if things are going right. And like you said, the power is in the
Mm.
words. Some of us say, man, you know what? Life is so good. I, I don't know what to do. I'm just so scared, because life is going too good. And then we manifest our winter because we called it into existence, because we did not know how to enjoy the spring, the summer, and the fall. And so we went
Mm.
straight back into winter. And a lot of us live our lives in perpetual winter because our mindset is negative. And when things are going right, we're busy looking over the fence, looking to see when something bad's coming. We're not enjoying the seasons that are good, but we bellow, cry, and fuss when the season is bad. And so we need to make sure that we do what is necessary in the winter season so we can manifest what needs to be done in the spring, in the summer, so we can reap our blessings in the fall.
You
That's
have
all
a
I want to
solid
say
point,
about
Dr.
that.
Howell, because some of us carry our tools that we use in one season to use in the next season, and those tools cannot be used over in that season, and so we
Mhm.
remain in a state of stagnation because we cannot use the wrench to open the tin of milk. It can't be used, but because we do not want to let go of the effects of the last season, we are so doubtful and distrustful because the season was so bad that we can't believe that we have come into such a great season. And for that reason, we carry, as you say, the same baggages with us that we should have left in the last season,
Mhm.
because anything that we don't need for one season, we are to leave it alone. We cannot take our winter coat into the summer season. It will be too heavy. And it keeps reminding me of a gentleman that it was said was given a ride with his load or his box or his banker, as we call it in Jamaica, on his head. And he went into the vehicle and kept it on his head because he did not realize that there was a time for him to let it down. And so he still had those burdens carrying, although his burdens were already lifted. And so when God released us from our season of dryness or sun scorched season, where he says he will make us become like springs of water that will and anything we touch will flourish. Let us not carry the spirit of doubt over into that season, and the
Mhm.
spirit of fear over into that season, and the spirit where we do not trust God over in this season, because half of the time what he says he will do, we cannot see it because he prepares the resources and put them down. But if our eyes are not open to claim those resources, it is like a gift that you have gotten that you have not opened the bowl. You know, there are some people who get birthday gifts and get Christmas gifts and get anniversary gifts, and they take it home and put it down, and the next year is when they are opening it.
Yes.
We
Wow.
have to be careful of that. Yes.
Wow, look at this. I'm telling you, everyone, I believe that every time we come to one of these sessions, I always say it seems as if we need a part two because the time has far been spent. And I want us to wrap up with this final part. What do we do if we miss a season? And I am going to start first. And I tell you, I'm leaning to the spiritual side today. I don't matter. Because if you miss a season, only God can help you. If you miss a season, only God can help you. And I'm going to tell you, if you miss a season, you are either God is going to keep you in that season. When I say keep you, I don't mean he's staying here, meaning that he will preserve you and protect you in that season. His grace is sufficient for you, and his strength is made perfect in every weakness. Every challenge that you have in that season, Elijah called a season into being for 3 years, famine, but the people of God were kept. He said, in the time of famine, my people shall be satisfied, meaning that he's going to keep his people when a season comes. You see, God is a man of integrity. He's a man to his word. If he allowed one of his chosen prophets, servant, as in the time of Elijah, to call a season into being, a season of famine, he is not going to say, well, Elijah, just call it back out. It is going to run its course when it comes to a spiritual season. And so these are the few things I'm going to say to you today. Pray to God. Ask God for spiritual insight if you miss a season. There may just be something that he wants to show, to build in you. It may be your character. It may be your tenacity. It may be your resilience that he's trying to build in you, why he allow you to stay in this season. It could be he wants you to bear some more fruit in this season. He said, look here, stay in this season a while longer because you didn't bear enough fruit. He could, we talked about the mindset earlier. He maybe want to free you from that negative mindset that you have and get you to start speaking life over your own life. It may be, and this is the final thing I'm going to say, that God wants you to build a people, a community around you of people who can help you to grow more. But if you run out of this season, you may not have seen those people, destiny helpers that are in this season that need to help you. So my final word is pray to God. Dr. Marcia, I see you raging to go, and Dr. Howell, final word.
I want to use two illustrations to make my point. If you miss your season, as Dr. Brooks is saying, you might just be called on to wait on the Lord. It's a waiting period, a period of pruning and preparation. It means that you, because of your nature and because of the choices you made and the decisions that you made in that phase of your life, in that season, in that desperation, because nobody likes a dry season. And Job can tell you about a dry season. Job is one of the greatest persons who have gone through a season of sun scorching that nobody else can talk about. And that's why Job is highlighted as the man with the greatest patience in the world. But even him questioned God when he was not coming out of his season. And he missed many of those cues. But he said, I know in whom I have believed, and I know he's able. And so I would say, if you feel that you have missed a season, meaning that you know for yourself that you may have been a little ungrateful, a little impatient, you may have taken things in your own hands, and so you are remaining in the season because you cannot do God's work, and God's purpose will not be thwarted. The Bible says whatever he intends will happen, and no matter how long we take, he will always carry us back to fulfill his purpose, so he gets the glory. And Jonah had that experience. Jonah was given a mission to do something, and he was doing it in what he considered to be a very dry season. These people would attack him, they would kill him, and so on. And so he avoided it. He went through the belly of the whale. He got so many experiences, but he had to be brought back to complete his mission. And when he completed his mission, he got peace, and he was able to move out of that season of fear, of doubt, of languishing. Sometimes when we are in our season, we just need to wait, and wait with a forward look. Wait, do you hear what I say? Wait with a forward look. And while you're doing that waiting, because you have missed the season, you need to self-reflect. What is it that I need to do so I can move into the next season? You need to seek support and guidance sometimes, because when you miss your season, you can become discouraged and you can feel like giving up. You also need to stay positive, because the steps of a righteous man are ordered by God. And
we're losing Dr. Marcia.
I would want to say,
okay, Thank you, Dr. Marcia.
Stay
Dr.
organized.
Okay. Alrighty, we are losing that. Go ahead, Dr. Howell.
Okay, so I want to take everything that you all have said and wrap it up with one story. It's going to be a very short story. You know, I always bring a story. And so there were two monks traveling down a road, and they had to cross a very wide stream. And as they got to the bank of the stream, they saw a lady, and the lady said, "Please, can y'all help me get across?" Now, you know, monks have a vow that they're not supposed to be or interact with women or be around women. And so one monk said, "Hey, I cannot help you at all." And the other monk said, "Get on my back and I will help you get across." So she gets on his back and all three of them get across. The lady said, "Thank you." And the two monks went on their way. Well, the monk that did not help was upset, so upset that this monk had this woman on his back after he had this oath of not being around women. And they walked several miles, and the monk that helped the woman said, "I noticed you real upset with me, or you're really quiet. What is wrong?" And so the monk said, "You know what? We took an oath not to interact with women, and you had that woman on your back. How can you call yourself a good monk and you have that woman on your back?" And the monk said, "Well, you know what? The strangest thing happened. See, I only had that woman on my back for 5 minutes, but you've had that woman on your mind for several miles." And I'm saying that to say this: a lot of times we get so caught up in what we've missed. A lot of times we get so caught up in life that we can miss our season, not being able to put down what lessons we learned, or the fears or the pains or the agony that we learned in one lesson. We don't put that baggage down. So now we cannot reap the benefits of the next season. And so if you continually miss your seasons, I believe and I propose to you today, it is because you're not putting down the previous bags so that you can move forward. Because as Dr. Marcia said, you need different tools for different seasons. But if you're not putting down the old tools, you don't have hands and space to pick up the new tools. So now you're going to miss all of those opportunities to manifest what needs to be manifest in the new season. So learn to put down your tools and your baggage so that you can pick up new tools and new lessons to move forward.
Thank you so much. We have to close this session. It was it was really, really a powerful session for us today. But I want you to leave here with these 3 points, these 3 strategies. Every person who is listening to this, whether you're listening to the live or when you listen to the replay, you can put hashtag replay. I want you to leave here with these 3 strategies as you prepare for your next season. Every one of us is in a season right now. And as you prepare for your next season, I want you to know that when you establish a starting point, you know where you're starting from and where you want to go to. Establish a starting point while you're in this season. Then you have to focus on becoming your best self. Do not stay in the season that you're in and grope and grime and do all of those things. Focus on becoming your best self in this season so that when you move from this season, you move into the next season being your best self or on your way to becoming your best self. And the final thing I want to say as you navigate seasons, constantly build focus and build good habits. Constantly build focus and build good habits and find the right people. Dr. Ho will like to talk about only quality people. Connect with the right people. Some of you are in some groups and some crowds that are not getting you anywhere, or they are getting you only half the way. You need other people and other group to take you the rest of the way. Find the right people to connect with. Learn and grow in this season so that you can move out of this season into your next season being your very best self. I want to thank you so much on behalf of my two co-hosts, Dr. Sigfred Howell, who is a life, happiness, and relationship coach and consultant. Dr. Howell is one of the best relationship coach and consultant that I have really come across in a long time. And not because he is connected to me why I'm saying this, it's because I have heard him in different spaces and how he speaks and how he shares and how he encourages persons to change their lives. Also, my other co-host, who is Dr. Marcia Powell, who has been skipping in and out of the live because of her internet. She is also a internationally trained, certified life coach and consultant. Dr. Marcia is very connected with the spiritual, the Christian side of things, where she helps Christian leaders to really find their balance in this life and to overcome the challenges that face them. And as usual, I am yours truly, Dr. Janice Brooks. I am a life strategist. I am a licensed pastoral counselor. I'm also a part of the John Maxwell team of certified leadership coaches, trainers, and speakers. We work together as a team and we have our individual practices as well. And you can find us on any of the medias. Connect with us if you need us for corporate training. You have a business and you need us to come into your business and train on any leadership, customer service, or management strategies to grow your business, any of these things. Managing relationship in your company so that everybody works well. We are available. Connect with us and we will be glad to help you to ensure that your business grows and your life grows as well. God bless you and we thank you for joining us, and you have a great rest of your day, evening, weekend, night, wherever you're joining us from. We thank you for spending your almost 1 hour with us here. God bless you as you walk into your season or walk out of your season. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.